I'm Mark Wall. I'm a program manager for Azure Active Directory, and what I'd like to talk about today is what we found working with customers who've deployed our privileged identity and access management for Azure Active Directory and Office 365. So, why are we doing this? Oop, missed the slide. Overall, what we've seen is, as you might expect, the number of breaches, well, you've come to the show, so you know about the breaches. The shadow IT, you probably heard about it, you've probably seen it. Most of the big new deployments and applications are not being driven by IT, they're driven by the line of business. And the budgets are not there to match it. You're not going to get the investment. Your CIO, apologies to those of you who are CIOs, are not going to fund the kind of massive growth in headcount you need to do everything on-prem. In particular, one of the things that I saw a couple years ago when I started working on this technology was there was just a lot of concern. You saw things literally almost every week in the press about, oh, admins. They were able to go and get an admin credential. They got a hash. They were able to get at the domain controller. They were able to break the domain. And because of that, the attacker then instantly was able to go everywhere, do everything, hide the network. And there were a lot of really high-profile cases of customers who suffered breaches to their admin attack or to their admin accounts. Now, ultimately, attackers don't want to be the admin. It's not their goal. Admin, it's great, it's fun, you can do whatever you want. Ultimately, they have a destination. They want to go and do something. They want to exfiltrate data, they want to do fraud, but over time, we see going after the admin account is a very popular way for attackers to find out how to get at the ultimate destination, whether it's a SQL database or a disk or a file or someone's mailbox. They go after admin accounts. Why? Well, the sad news is, because it's kind of easy. Most organizations have, over time, found one or more vulnerabilities, and hopefully they found and patched as many as they can, but there's always seems to be yet one more channel, one more vector. Additionally, administrators, for the most part, are human. And because they're human, they're subject to all the same kind of human engineering attacks that enable an attacker to go and convince someone to do something on their behalf, like open an attachment or reconfigure the network because I've got this application, needs to be able to see the network, all the standard things. Now, the big problem in the industry, and I've been coming to this conference since about '92, is we're still using the same security models that we designed back in the '70s, which is we'll trust the admin to do the right thing. Because the admin, we can't limit what the admin can do. The admin must always have full power, full control at any time. Probably because these systems were designed by administrators, we now have this mindset. We still have this. We see this today. If you go by any device, it's like, oh, I can go and root this device and I'll become an admin, I'll have full control. And that's not going to change anytime soon, much as we'd like to. Now, one of the particular problems that we've seen over and over again with organizations is how does someone become an admin? There's the usual path. You go and you get certification, you take training, get hired in the IT department, and through many years of work and effort, you gradually become an admin. But then there's the other path. Someone calls up help desk and say, hey, I've got this app, and I read the back of the box of this app, and it says, must be admin to install, make me an admin. And help desk, because they want to help them, said, okay, great, you can be an admin. Just be sure to call back when you're done, and I'll take those admin privileges away from you because those are kind of important. Don't do anything, dangerous with them. So there's all these things over and over again. Someone says, I need to do something with Exchange, and then I need to be an admin for that. They get into these highly privileged groups in Active Directory, groups like domain admins or Exchange admins, and they do their task, and they're happy. Great, I could do my job. I could perform the function I was intending to do. And does anyone ever call back help desk and say, okay, I'm done. I've used those admin credentials and I'm done with them. Take them away. I don't need that anymore. Most people don't. When we talk to people about that, it's like, well, there might be something I'd have to do next week and I guess better hold on to it. It becomes a social commodity as well. If I'm an admin and you're not, and you forgot your password, you could call help desk and be on the phone for a long time, or you could just ask me. It becomes valuable. People hoard these privileges in the organization. And over time, as we looked at people who've done Active Directory deployments in their organization for now, coming close to 15 years, There's lots of people who, for one reason or another, became an admin back in the 2000s and have just stayed there in an admin role. They may not have been doing anything with it, but they got an admin, they're hanging on to it. Now, this is all an on-prem. Exchange, domain admins, all on-prem stuff. But in the cloud, it's going to be much better, I'm sure. Unfortunately not. In the cloud, we see some of the same thing. They call up their help desk. Yeah, I'm trying to install this third-party email thing, and it says, need to be a global admin for Exchange. Can you make me a global admin? Yeah, I'll make you a global admin. Just be sure when you're done, call help desk back, and I'll take it away again. But no one ever calls back. And people become a global admin. And they stay this way indefinitely. And we've seen this over and over from lots of organizations. I ask people, how many admins do you have? And for some, it's like, oh yeah, we're a well-run shop. We have 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, 150. But then we get the really weirdo answers. How many admins do you have? Well, we were getting a lot of help desk calls, so we just made a lot of people admins because that cut down on our help desk call volume because now anyone could go and do anything they wanted. Or answers like, we don't know. Is it a problem? Do we care? We also see a lot of challenges when we go to the cloud because there's so many different applications. Just within the Microsoft stack, there's Intune and Office and all the other things around here and elsewhere, and they share administrative responsibilities. What we'll find is someone thinks, oh, I'm an admin for Exchange. I'm an admin for Intune. But they're actually the same kind of admin. And so one user who thinks of themselves as, I'm just dealing with mailboxes, I never want to touch devices, could find, if they stumbled into the Intune side of the house, that I can manage over there as well. How did this happen? Looking back, oftentimes people who are on the journey to the cloud are focused on one thing, time. How long is it going to take me to do this cloud migration? Because I told the board that we'd have the mailbox migration project done by the end of the fiscal year, and we have 2 weeks left, and I'm not going to worry about admin roles and rights right now. I'm just going to worry about moving all the salespeople's mailboxes over, because that's my big long pole item. I'll get back to roles and rights and responsibilities later, in a later phase. So then there's a problem. The auditor shows up and says, okay, you moved to the cloud. Congratulations. Tell me about your admins. How are you exerting control over your admins in the cloud? How are you monitoring what they're doing? How are you ensuring that there's oversight over these admin activities? Who are your admins? And then it all falls down. They say, well, now we need to take a step back. We need to do that work, which they should have done originally, of understanding who are your admins and what can they do. So one of the things that I've been working on the Azure Active Directory side is providing more visibility into what admins are doing across the Microsoft Online Services. And in particular, one of the things that we do and we focus on is the just-in-time model. The just-in-time model, we think, is going to dramatically simplify the problem that many organizations have with administrators. And it's not a technology problem. It's a human problem. It's the human problem of if you give someone a privilege, they'll hold on to it. They don't want to give it up. They don't want to say, no, I don't need this anymore. I don't need this shiny gold coin. I'm done. We need the system to automate the process of someone gets administrative rights for a task, and then those rights go away again automatically. That ensures the organization can keep control over who are their admins, and they don't balloon their admins across their cloud services in the same way they've had that problem in the past on-premise. So let me show you what this looks like. Let me switch over to Privileged Identity Management. Now, who's seen this portal? Maybe not displayed, but who's seen this portal? I've seen, yes, the Microsoft employee is raising her hand. Okay, if you haven't, you can go to portal.azure.com, poke around, you'll find identity management, you can get trials, you can try all this stuff out for free, no problem. If you come around to our booth, we'll give you demos over there as well. What I'm showing in this experience is how can we do time-limited administration for administrators. In this test tenant, I've cunningly set it up so that there's way too many admins. This is a simulated 50-person company with 36 admins, because of course, everyone wants to be an admin. So in this, what we provide in Privileged Identity Management is more visibility, first. What kind of admins do I have? And secondly, we have one new thing that we've added, the ability to take our admins and say, not everyone should be permanently an administrator. Not everyone needs to be an admin 24/7, 365. In fact, I'd say that in probably most organizations, almost no human being is an admin every day, all day. Most people they'll be doing other things. Checking emails, surfing the web, downloading malware. Most of the time they're doing those things, and they should be doing that with their normal administrative rights, not their admin account. So what we can do is we can take these users in this system and say, I don't want all these people to be permanent admins. Brad Anderson, I'm sure you're doing something very important right now, hopefully not demoing. And I can go and say, rather than being a permanent administrator for my organization, I can make him be eligible. And what that means is he still has the rights he always had, but rather than having those admin rights permanent 24/7, 365, he has the ability to get them when he needs them. Now, why is that important? If he doesn't have those rights all the time, he has to ask the system for them. He goes into the system and he says, I need to activate my role. That gives more visibility. I can see when users are activating. I can get an audit log of that information. And I can also have more controls over the conditions when someone's activating. Maybe I don't want people with just a username and password anywhere on the internet becoming administrators for my company. Maybe I'd like to lock it down. Maybe to say, if you really want to be an admin, I'm going to call your phone. I'm going to call your desk. I'm going to check to make sure you're really who you say you are. Because while I may have a big pool of end users in my organization who want to be able to read from any device and check their email from any airport in the world, I don't want to have the same capabilities for my admins. I may not trust my admins to be coming in from anywhere in the world. I only want them doing administrative tasks for my network. So these controls give more capabilities so you can lock down your administrative environment. That way, if Brad Anderson's account ever gets compromised, that attacker is not then immediately and permanently an administrator. Because we've seen this happen in the cloud. People try this. They try to compromise cloud administrator accounts because they know if they can find a cloud admin and take over their account, what can they do? They can create backdoors. They can spin up a bunch of VMs, and if they can spin up VMs, they can use them for spam or other things. Or they can do more fun stuff, like they can go and read the CEO's email or send email as the CEO saying, hi, I'm the CEO of this company, and there's this purchase order, please approve. All that kind of fun stuff that attackers do. And they can do that if they were able to be an admin immediately. So we want to prevent that. We want to say that users are not permanently admins, that if they need to activate a role, they can request it, but we have further checks. We can do multi-factor checks, and we can recertify everyone's access. I may want to ensure, I don't have any today, but I can go and say, I want to review everyone who's currently in one of these roles. I want to make sure that if the auditor comes by and says, how did you determine that all these people needed to be admins? I can go and review that. I can say, I'd like to review all my Exchange admins. I'd like them all to look at who has access. I want to go and get a report for this. I want someone to go and review this or have the users review them themselves. So all this is built in. I can do recertification of access. I can get an audit log. Lots of things there. Now let's go back to the demo for a second, or sorry, from the demo for a second, and show how this works with the rest of the system. So the key thing that I showed briefly was I can take the administrators across my Microsoft Online services. People can run Exchange Online or Intune or Azure and make them be eligible. They can activate their role. I can also configure a time limit on their role to say if they need to do a task, they can, but they have an hour or a day or 3 days to do it rather than permanently. I can put in a multi-factor authentication challenge to say if they want to do this task, they can, but I'm going to call them first. I'm going to have Azure work with their mobile app, work with their phone. Make sure they're really who they say they are before they do any administration. Obviously, all this is logged, all everything's recorded, and you also have access recertification for these admins. So if the auditor comes in and says, how did you sign off that these were the admins? You can say, here's my recertification report. Here's who signed off, what was justification, all that's recorded. Now, getting to the best practice. We've seen a number of customers doing this. We've worked with customers who've used privileged identity management with their Office or Intune, their Azure subscription before. Usually the first ways that they start is they find out when they turn on PIM, they've got too many admins. How do they fix that? First step then is to start converting some users to be eligible for roles rather than permanently in roles. And you can also find out which roles are most appropriate for users. What we find for a number of companies who are just moving into Office 365 is everyone came in as a global administrator. and now you have 10 or 100 global administrators. But there's 30 other roles that they could be in that have less privilege. Exchange administrator, SharePoint administrator. There's a whole big list. So the next step is then to move people out of global admin and find a better role. You can also require multi-factor authentication. If you have admins in Office 365 and they're not currently doing MFA, you need to turn that on. We include MFA for admins as part of the Office license. You don't have to get anything additional for that. That's included. Because we want to make sure all the administrative accounts have multi-factor authentication turned on for that. If you're doing something on-prem, that's great too. If you got smart cards or certificates or domain join devices, that's great. But if you're pure cloud, you need to have MFA turned on for all your admins. We also then find that organizations do an access review. They realize they have too many admins. So let's ask the admins. We can have one of these reviews say to all the admins, why do you need to be in this role? Give a justification for that. All that gets recorded is saved for the auditor, so that then when the auditor comes in months later, they can see from each user why their justification is. Auditors love this kind of information. And then if users are eligible for a role and they're never activating it, maybe they don't need it. A lot of people have roles for political reasons. They're the head of the IT department, so they feel they ought to be an administrator of some kind. Well, I'm in IT, I should administer. What if? What if? But if they're never using their role, that just is a risk to the organization. They're in a role that gives them rights that could be compromised. So take them out of that role. Now, we did this ourselves within Microsoft. We rolled out PIM for our own IT department, for all the hundreds of thousands of Microsoft employees. And so we were able to get rid of a lot of our global administrators. So we got 97% of our global admins out of Active Directory, out of Office 365. We're down to 2, which is a pretty good number for a 150 or so person company. We also cut down our number of password admins, service admins, a lot of the other administrative roles. We're doing this with the Exchange and the other roles. So take a look. Try PIM, turn on your tenants, see how many admins you have. And for a lot of organizations that have been using Office 365 for more than a year or so, you might be surprised with that number. The other thing, if you haven't seen this talk, we had a talk by one of our customers, Unilever. You've probably heard of Unilever. They make soap and washing powder and food. They're, I think, actually a little bigger than Microsoft. They're a multinational, and they went and they deployed privileged identity management. There's a YouTube video of their session where this is them. This isn't me presenting. This is a real customer. And they walk through how they did this, how they turned on PIM, what were the issues they found, how they were able to get IT benefits. So search for how Unilever modernized IT on YouTube, and you can watch this video whenever you want. This is, I think, a really good story. Talks about how they use this and a number of the other features. Now that's just on the Azure Active Directory side and Office side. What else can we do besides the administrator's accounts? So there's a number of other technologies besides PIM that I want to highlight here today. And I've got a slide to go into a few more of these. Have you heard of identity protection? If not, it's around the corner. What is identity protection? So identity protection gives more visibility into all the users in your directory, both administrators and not administrators. Because what we found is oftentimes users, including admins, including CEOs, will be not just using your IT provided services, but lots of other apps as well. They'll be using music sharing apps and file apps and lots of fun stuff that has nothing to do with IT. And most of those apps out there require people to sign in. And those apps always have a page at the front saying, hi, welcome to this cool new music sharing app. Create an account. Pick a strong password, a good password, a password that has all the security constraints, a password that's very, very strong. And so what are your end users in your organization going to do? They think, well, I know a really strong password. That's the password I use for my email. It's really strong. My IT department told me I had to pick a strong password for my email. I came up with this thing as letters and numbers and symbols. It's really, really convoluted. I need a really big Post-it note to write it down, but it's really strong. So the next app that I sign up for, and it says I need a strong password, well, I'll just use that one. It's strong, really strong. And you know where this is going. That app gets hacked, its database gets stolen and breached and put someplace, and now the bad guys have lists of email address, password combinations. What are they going to do? They're not interested in stealing your music. They're interested in getting at your email. So they'll then go and try seeing, which of those passwords might just happen to work with, say, Office 365. If I get a match, great. Now we've compromised the user. Now they can send emails to that person, do all sorts of fun stuff, maybe run an Azure VM, whatever they can find. So we, along with our partners in this space, watch all the sign-in activity across Office 365 and Xbox and Microsoft account and phones. We work with other organizations, and when we see one of these breaches happen in the news, we go and check that against our databases. If there's a match, we tell the admins about it. Because if you're an IT admin and there are users in your organization whose email addresses and passwords just happen to match the password that was in a breach report, they have to change their password. So we can automatically change their password out so that stops working, can't log in. We'll notify the admin so that they know why the password is locked out. And then you have more visibility. Which users do you need to go talk to? Who do you need to educate for this process? All this information is surfaced, again, in the portal alongside privileged identity management. And you can use this not just for your admin accounts, but also for all the other individuals that are privileged or have special need for vulnerability. Board members, key executives, people who own IT production resources, and so on. Another key technology, particularly for limiting what admins can do and from where, is conditional access. We rolled this out a couple of months ago, and what this does is it provides more controls on where someone can access an application from. Because of course the whole value of the cloud and running all these things in Azure is users can get at this from anywhere. The downside is attackers can get at this from anywhere, and unlike the old days where they had to go and get through your VPN or your firewall, you're not seeing those attacks anymore. So in order that you now have the ability to say, I need the same kind of controls for my SaaS apps like I used to be able to do in the old days with my firewall. Like, I need to know the device. I need to know where they're coming from. I can do time of day checks, all these kind of things. Conditional access policies allow you to say, under what conditions are users able to get at these apps? When can someone get at their email? From where? And what about other apps like Salesforce or Box or Google? You might want to say, anyone can get at their email, but if they want to get at an administrative app, that they have to do from on-premise, or from a device we recognize, or have done multi-factor authentication. So you can combine these, and again, this helps to ensure that you don't have a situation where you have an administrative surface for one of these SaaS apps that's visible to anywhere on the internet, because then that means you're at risk in case there's a password happens to be guessed, or somehow an administrator's computer gets hacked. We want to make sure that that access to that endpoint is only from places that make sense for your business, for your policy. So you can configure these conditional access policies for Office, for Azure, for all these other SaaS apps, and they're enforced in the directory each time someone logs in. Third area in the cloud for how I can get more control over administrative accounts is Cloud App Security. So Cloud App Security extends the visibility over what my admins are doing outside of the Microsoft ecosystem into apps like Google and Box and Salesforce, so that if admins are acting in those systems and doing something anomalous like creating new users in Salesforce or changing people's roles or job assignments inside those SaaS apps, you can tell. We can bring that information in, you can run an analysis on that, and you get early warning that there might be a backdoor administrator inside the SaaS app. Someone might have been put into Salesforce, maybe they were a vendor, a contractor, someone who's working on a partnership a while ago getting Salesforce set up, and then their account never got turned off. No one ever took that contractor away, and now that account could be doing things that you didn't want it to do. So if you haven't seen Cloud App Security, go see this person. They'll give you a demo around the corner over there. Again, all this is available. You can go and try this out today. You can turn this on your own tenant. Take a look. Now, this has been kind of a whirlwind tour, mostly talking about what we have in the cloud for Office and for the other line of business applications, applications like Salesforce and Box and other things connected to Azure Active Directory. What about core Azure? What about VMs? What about documents? So there's a number of other technologies I want to highlight here as well that help to complete the story over protecting the admin accounts. Information protection. Sometimes it's not the app that is the most critical thing. It's the content. You might say, it doesn't really matter whether the plans for the big merger are on Box or Dropbox or OneDrive. The fact that it's the plans for the big merger is what's sensitive. And I want that content to be restricted no matter where it is. So that if someone puts it up on Dropbox, it stays protected. If they take it off of there and they put it on Box, they put it on OneDrive, they put it on a USB stick, they put it on their phone, I want that protection to travel with the content. That's available with Azure Information Protection. So you can have policies that are opt-in. You could say, someone in the legal department wants to be able to share information with the target of your proposed merger, wants to be able to make sure that content is protected even as it goes outside of your firewall, goes into their network, their applications. You don't know what apps they're using. They could be using Box and you use Dropbox. That's fine. The content stays protected as it moves around, stays encrypted, and you have visibility into where that's being accessed from. So if you haven't seen information protection, you should definitely get a demo because that, again, gives you more visibility. Where did my content go? Where is it being opened? If suddenly someone is opening up this content in a country you've never heard of, maybe that means it's been breached or someone has forwarded it on a little bit too much. Azure Security Center. If you're running virtual machines in Azure, you probably have open 1 or 2 ports, the administrative ports, to remote in or remote PowerShell into that virtual machine. You probably don't want those administrative ports open to the entire internet because what will the attacker do? They'll do a port scan. Let's take a random IP address, 10.1.2.3. Let's see if there happens to be an RDP listener on this. Oh, look, there's an RDP listener on this. I wonder if this is on Azure. It looks like a VM. Well, let's try some random username and passwords, and eventually, of course, they'll break your VM. You don't need to have these VMs have their network for administration be open to the entire internet. You can lock it down. You can say, I want to have a network security group. I want to limit when and where someone can get to my virtual machines to do administration. So if you've got virtual machines in Azure and you're concerned about where can someone administer from, you should go behind this wall over here to Azure Security Center because they can show you how you can lock down those virtual machines so people just can't get at the remote desktop or the remote PowerShell port from the internet anymore. Now, this is all cloud stuff because, of course, we're cloud first. Now let's talk about the big problem on-prem. So on-prem, what's going on premises? Well, we have a number of these same problems again in the on-premises environment. And indeed, that's where we started. We saw attackers would manage to get to the firewall. They put malware onto someone's box and get it into the network, or they'd find a way through a port, and they'd be able to get on a random system in the network. What did they do next? They look around, and they say, I wonder if there are any administrators in this network. Oh, I found some. I wonder what their passwords might happen to be. Are they password 1 or password 123 or secret? Probably if I try 50 or 60 or 100 of those, I'll eventually guess an administrator password because administrators are very predictable. They use the same passwords over and over. And so what will happen is these attackers will have a bot, an agent that's automatically doing all this. They're scanning the network, they're finding admin accounts, they're guessing an admin password, and eventually they find one. Great, now they're an admin on the box. Then the bot looks and says, what kind of box did I get compromised? I compromised a laptop. Not that great. Probably nothing that interesting on this laptop. But if I'm an admin on that laptop and I'm a bot, I can do something interesting. I can make the laptop act all funny, blue screen it, mess it up. Because then what will the owner of the laptop do? They'll call up IT. My laptop is acting really screwy. Can you log in and see what's going on? And of course the help desk guy is like, yeah, I'll help you out. I'll log into your laptop and see what's going on, which is exactly what the bot wants. The bot wants the IT admin guy to log into the laptop. Now the bot has got the credentials of an IT help desk person. Great. Now where can they go? They can go off the laptop, use those credentials, take them over to some servers, and jump from box to box to box in a lateral movement attack. This happens over and over again, and most organizations are entirely oblivious to this. Is it all recorded in the log? Yes, it's all in the log. If you try hard enough, you can see these in the event log from Windows Server. Most people do not have the time and effort and inclination to try hard enough. So take a look at advanced threat analytics. That takes the effort out of seeing these attacks. So you get better data about what's going on with your administrators while the attack is going on. So you can feed to your SIEM tool, whichever SIEM you're using, rather than here's a million event log records, good luck. You can say, there's an account enumeration going on. This admin account is in the process of being compromised from this computer. This admin account has now been compromised from that computer. This admin account is now being misused and going there, 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 and there. Hopefully someone in your NOC is awake and watching these coming into your SIEM and doing something like isolating them and changing the credentials and taking appropriate defensive action. So advanced threat analytics, very simple, very powerful. It only does one thing. Now this just-in-time model and limiting privileges that I talked about before was in the cloud, being able to limit your cloud administrators. We have that same model also for on-prem. So if you have on-premise domain administrators, and if you have 10 or 100 or 1,000 on-premises administrators, you can have the exact same model. You can deploy this on-prem. Now a few of you may be from various government agencies or other kinds of industries where you say, Microsoft, this is all very interesting, but I'm only sitting here because it's a comfortable chair. I'm not allowed to use any cloud services. The advanced threat analytics, the privilege access management, and the just enough admin I'm about to talk about are all things you can deploy and run in your data center. They do not need to talk up to the cloud or the internet at all. If you want to lock them down so that you can say, this is living in my box behind the firewall and it's never going outside, you can do that. So you can get visibility into attacks in your data center. You can do the just-in-time limit for domain admins or other highly privileged groups in Active Directory, all on-premise if you want to as well. And then the third technology, just enough administration. This is, again, part of our new model we're working on. So if you're a Windows Server administrator, you might say, well, we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of help desk staff, they're doing lots of things, and the easiest thing would be to just make them all administrative scripts because, well, we never know what they'll need to do next. And of course, that opens up the organization to attack. What if one of those scripts isn't really the script you think it is? Maybe someone managed to get their own script onto the box. Interesting attack vector. I haven't seen that too much in the wild, but I know it's possible. You can lock down scripts, you can lock down remoting into box, you can lock down how people can go from computer to computer so that you don't need to have everyone be administrator all the time in Windows Server. So again, if you're interested in this, come around to the back wall here, or there's a deep dive into this just enough administration talk on Thursday as well. This is really going to change how you think about Windows Server administration going forward, because there's a lot of new things we put into Windows Server 2016 along with the privilege access management. So you can have fewer admins and not needing to be admins as often as they have needed to in the past, in addition to all the things we have on the cloud side. So with that, thank you for attending. I'll be hanging out over here, so if you have any questions. I know it's kind of hard to hear because of all the other presenters and music and drums, so just come up afterwards and I can do Q&A from there. But thank you for coming by. Have a good show.